Hello, this is Dr. Mark Miravalle, Professor of Theology and Mariology from the Franciscan University of Steubenville in Steubenville, Ohio. I am here in Ireland with Anne the Lay Apostle, and we will be speaking about the spiritual movement of the lay apostles of Jesus Christ, the returning King. It is important to keep in mind that all the messages that Anne has received have been released with the permission of the local bishop, Bishop Leo O'Reilly from the Diocese of Kilmore, Ireland, and have been submitted to the Vatican Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith for examination. Each and every dimension of this apostolate is completed in submission and in obedience to the local bishop and to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. And we're talking about a rescue mission for souls, but we're talking about it right now in contemporary society. And contemporary society is very fast-paced. There's a lot of movement going on, and there's the concern about time and body and exercise and all these dimensions, and yet we're called to this rescue mission right now within those time-space capacities. This is our Lord's words from September 25th, 2004. Jesus says, "My little serving souls feel the weakness of their bodies. Your bodies often tell you that you should rest, and yet you see that I have additional work for you. Brothers and sisters in the vineyards of the world, you will reap the harvest with a steady pace. If you are feeling hurried, you must remember something is amiss. You will occasionally feel the pressure to complete a given task, of course, but generally speaking, you should exert a steady and constant effort in my service. Do not be like worldly souls who exhibit a burst of service and then fall away from me. This is not helpful. Heaven relies most heavily on those who are consistent. So, while I do not want you to pamper your body or treat it like a god, you should be respectful of its needs because it houses your soul, and through it, I am achieving the most miraculous things. When you find yourself listening to a stranger and providing solace or heavenly witness, you must consider that I am at work. Without your cooperation, without your body, I could not be there in the way that the soul needed to see me. Through you, I become physically present. Care for your body. Do not idolize it." A lot on the body, Anne, and a lot on practicality, but also the mission. How do we mesh those things?
Well, I'm looking at, he says, without you, cooperation, without your body, I could not be there in the way that the soul needed to experience it. So, one of the kindest things we can do for a person is to be interested in their pain or interested in their experience, what's happening with them in their life today. So, that's one thing that I think this hurriedness has taken away from us as communities of believers. I know for myself, I have a house full of children, I have my work, and there can be a temptation to start to pick up the pace just to get more done, and you can be under pressure. Personally, I know when I start to get that feeling of tension in my stomach or whatever, when I start to move quickly, I know that I'm losing the plot. And what is at risk is the Lord's promptings in each moment. So I have to slow it down. I have to calm myself and exert this steady pace. There's a temptation to believe Jesus is unreasonable. He asked me to do too much. How can I possibly achieve all that the Lord? That's not from God. That's a temptation to believe that the Lord's expectations are unreasonable, or that the Lord would give you 10 jobs when you can only handle 2 in a given time. So we have to be very alert to that as a temptation, treated accordingly. Move steadily and methodically. And that's the word that always comes back to me when I have that temptation. I think, be methodical. Start a job, finish the job, move on to the next.
So it's almost as if our task is to make sure the spiritual antenna are up so we can get, His directions for the day. If we're too busy or we're too hurried to be listening, if the antenna aren't up, we're going to be acting on our own, and to the extent we're doing that is to the extent we're not going to be able to be Jesus to people.
Because Jesus is the master at schedule changes. The Lord changes the schedule just like this. And all of a sudden you're standing on a street corner holding your groceries, listening to somebody talk about a bereavement. And in your head, the clock is ticking. Now I'm 5 minutes late for this. Now I'm not going to get to. You got to get rid of the clock in that situation and be physically present and emotionally present, so Jesus can bless the person the way He needs to bless the person.
So it's really a sacrament of the present moment type of spirituality, where we might have a plan of the day, but spiritual writers talk about how the Blessed Mother did not have the Archangel Gabriel's visit in her daily planner.
That's right.
That wasn't
Right.
set.
Right.
And yet it was the greatest act of salvation a human could do in cooperation with Jesus.
Right,
Is to
so
say yes.
you could say that for that to occur, something else got bumped.
Right. Now, the body. Tell us about the body. I mean, Jesus is very clear about you feel weakness, your bodies tell you should rest, and there's additional work. What's the balance? Because we seem to be in an age of extremes, either hedonism, too much tendency to the body, or the possibility of a type of Jansenism where we don't have a proper care for the body. Where's the moderation?
First of all, everybody needs to stop criticizing everybody else. These ones are doing too much penance. These ones aren't doing any penance. They need to mind their own penances and do what they're called to do and be calm and gentle about with our bodies. When somebody is missing sleep consistently for service, that's not a good thing for me. I think people need to take care of their body, be gentle with it, nourish it with good food, give it the rest that it needs. Now, somebody would say, well, she doesn't always do that. And that would be true. I do what I'm called to do. And the Lord expects everyone to do what they're called to do. But generally, I try to take care of my body as best I can because I need it. When it goes down, then it's not taking care of children. So there needs to be acceptance that everyone's call is different in this way. There should be some spirit of penance, but it shouldn't be such like if you're fasting, if I am fasting to the point where I faint, I've lost the plot.
So the penance is a means to the end. It can never become the goal. Sometimes there can be a spiritual trophy case we're trying to acquire with our external acts. At the same time, Jesus says, and when the bridegroom is gone, then you shall fast. So our Lord seems to be talking about a moderation of the body. He says here, without your cooperation, without your body, I could not be there in the way the soul needed to see me.
Right.
So it's a combination of proper kind of mastery of the body and stewardship of the body.
Stewardship of the body.
But he ends by talking about how don't idolize the body, care for it.
Right.
I often say that if, being a Californian, if the state of California put the dedication into the spiritual life that they do into jazzercise and exercise, we could just canonize the whole state. So we are concerned about bodies and
now,
exercise.
Mark, we have a lot of dedicated lay apostles in California.
No shot to the Californians that they understand. I'm talking as one of them.
Yes, okay.
Because there's such an emphasis on the body. So it's just the priority of body to the spirit and to service.
And to service, and not to criticize. It's not good when we continually examine how everybody else is doing it, so that we can hold ourselves higher. Do you know?
Surely.
And I'm very committed to exercise myself.
Yeah,
I am. Yeah.
So, with this, our Lord is talking about a mission today, which includes a hurried type of schedule. And one of the strongest lines in this message is, if you are feeling hurried, you must remember something is amiss. Many of us feel hurried, and does that become now a litmus test for re-examination? Are we doing too much? There's a difference between working for the Lord and doing the work of the Lord. Working for the Lord means anything that's not against faith and morals, good things. And we could say, gosh, there's so many things that need to be done for the faith today. Versus doing the work of the Lord where you get His promptings and doing only what He wants you to do in there. Where's the balance?
How much can you do and still stay calm? How can you have to retain the Lord's peace in your soul. That's what I have to do. So when I'm losing that, like if I've done so much that I can't comply with my obligations at home in a calm manner, then I say, this isn't working. It's not working somewhere. So we go with our first duty to our vocation, and anything that starts chipping away at the peace we feel in the execution of those duties would be suspect.
And what about the temptation to reduce what we know to be the prayer we should be doing for the sake of being active? The temptation to say, well, I could do more if I just cut back on the prayer.
Yes, you could, and it would be your work, not the Lord's.
Exactly.
That's a matter of self-will and not His will. I can't do the work I need to do without the prayer, because then I sneak into it. And if I sneak into it, you have irritation, you have all the humanity that comes with me, that's not what the Lord needs.
Okay. Balance, stewardship of body, service to our Lord. So all these things can work today in our hurried world. In some sense, that's lay apostolate's call to bring some peace and some of the compassion of Jesus in today's hurried world.
And they're setting an example.
Right, right. Thank you, Anne. God bless you.